Hello, Knight fans, and are you battle ready, Knight fans? There we go, battle ready, Knight fans.
Sold out crowd.
London Knights taking on the ERIE Otters.
You can feel the electricity in the House of Green. Everyone is rocking in this room. Look out in Victor Messi into the penalty box. Back in the pocket and will make it more. What speed! McDonough shot. Moody scores! Liam Moody on the rebound. His first goal in the OHL. Here we come, battle ready. Everyone will remember our name.
Here we come, Knight fans. Are you battle ready? Welcome to Knights This Week with your host and super fan, Jason Banks, coming at you for yet another edition of Knights This Week. So, Knights This Week has 3 games to tell you about. And as you may be aware of, or I left you off last week on Knights This Week, our London Knights were battling the ERIE Otters again for the 3rd year in a row in the playoffs. This time for the right to go to the Western Conference Final. This time around, not a OHL Final berth online this time. So here on Knights This Week, the series is over now, and some of you may be aware of how the series ended. Some of you may not be, but I'm going to tell you how the series ended. So let's get to this, shall we? Here on Knights This Week, playoff edition this week on Knights This Week. So, what I like to do is give you the game recaps, of course. So I'm going to do that for you, and I have a little bit of special audio for you. Pretty exciting audio, so I look forward to that. But I want to keep this rolling, so let's get going, shall we? And just like I do on all the Knights This Week playoff edition, use the whiteboard here. Game 5. Game 5 between the Knights and the Otters. And Game 5 was being played at the ERIE Assurance Arena in Erie, Pennsylvania on Easter weekend. So, actually, it was Easter Saturday night, and that is, and then they had another one to follow up on Easter Sunday. So, let's get to the game in Erie first of all. Game 5 between our London Knights and the ERIE Otters. And let's see. And let's take a look at what happens in this one. I can tell you what happens in Game 5. It's just like you're sitting there watching Game 5 thinking, is this like a carbon copy of Game 4? Let's flash back to Game 4, shall we? Remember, in Game 4, ERIE Otters had gotten ahead of the Knights 2-0. But never fret, Knight fans. Never fret. The Knights are never out of it. And, of course, you know, and in the 3rd period, the Knights would score a bunch of goals in the 3rd period, and they erased that 2-0 lead and went on to a 4-2 victory at a game I was at. A very exciting game to be at. So, Game 5. Deja vu. In Game 5, the ERIE Otters again get out to a 2-0 lead. And I believe they got out to a 2-0 lead on goals from Jordan Sambrook, a defenseman for the ERIE Otters, and Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat, more than likely playing his last season with the ERIE Otters. The kid is good. He's not going to be back next year. I can't envision him being back at all. He's going to be gone, but he got another goal for the ERIE Otters. So here we go again, Knight fans. Down 2-0. But don't fret. Don't fret. The shots in the first period, actually in Game 5, were a heavy advantage in favor of the ERIE Otters. They outshot the London Knights 21-6 in the first period. 21-6. So, down 2-0, the London Knights, but outshot 21-6. And it's looking a lot like Game 1, where London got badly outshot and stuck around, of course, won that game, right? Down 2-0. Fortunate they're only down by 2. Cue up the second period now, where last game it was the third period. This game it only took the second period for the Knights to do what they did in Game 4. And that is score goals. In the span of 1 minute and 10 seconds in the second period, the London Knights would erase that 2-0 ERIE lead. And all of a sudden, the London Knights would be leading this game 3-2. Just like that. The quick strike offense of the London Knights. 3 goals in 1:10 in the second. And that actually, what that did, the coach of the ERIE Otters decided, you know what, we've seen this before and I don't like it. So the coach decided to post starting goaltender Troy Timpano and put in backup Joseph Murdaka. He played the rest of that game, and it was a great move by the ERIE Otters. Paid off to be a great move by them, that's for sure. So Max Jones starting to contribute on the scoreboard like he should be. He gets 2 of these goals, and this is just like Game 4 too, because Max Jones got the goals, got 2 of them, and then Finnish star player forward Jani Kaukonen gets a goal. So it's Jones and Kaukonen striking again for the London Knights in a short amount of time. And so, yeah, those are your 2 best players. The rest of the forwards on the London Knights have kind of been in a vanishing act. But those 2 doing great. So, Max Jones with 2 gets his 7 goals. Jani Kaukonen has his 8th. And so, the London Knights jump ahead of the ERIE Otters 3-2. Now, before the second period is over, the ERIE Otters would actually tie the game up. Patrick Fellows gets the goal for the ERIE Otters. 3-3 going into the third. 3-3. Not bad. You're in a Game 5, series tied 2. You got a tied game going into the third period in ERIE. That's pretty good. But then the London Knights started to make mistakes in the third period. And the ERIE Otters would capitalize on them. About halfway through the third, I'd say about 11 minutes left or so, 10 minutes around there. A 3-3 tie. A couple of Knights defensemen got mixed up. Coughed the puck up at their neutral line at that end. And cost them dearly as ERIE grabbed a hold of the puck and skated down the ice. And Taylor Radish would be the one stealing it. He broke in on Tyler Parsons, slid the puck behind him. 4-3 game for the ERIE Otters at that point. And then another bad goal, I'd say about 3 minutes later. Dylan Strome gets his 7th at the playoffs. And everybody says Dylan Strome disappears in the playoffs, and we love it when he disappears. Well, he's got 7 goals. He's doing not too bad in the playoffs. But this is one that Tyler Parsons would love to have back because it was not a good goal. Terrible angle shot by Strome. I don't know how it got behind Parsons, but it did. 5-3 at that point. And then Anthony Cirelli added 1 in for good measure. His 7th of the playoffs. Your final score in Game 5 was the ERIE Otters 6. Your London Knights 3. So the ERIE Otters, despite the fact that London had a lead on them at one point, despite the fact that, again, the shots were a good advantage for the ERIE Otters, 39-23. Despite the fact they were tied midway through the third, ERIE pulls it out. And ERIE Otters get a 3-2 series lead headed to Game 6. Now, this isn't necessarily a back-breaking loss. Lots of teams can win the last 2 games of a series to win the series. It has been done many times before. So not earth-shattering for the London Knights. All right. So that's Game 5 for you folks. The 3 stars of Game 5 were Max Jones, the 3rd star from your London Knights. What more can you say about him? He got 2 goals in Game 4. He gets another 2 in this game, turning out to be a huge catalyst for the London Knights in these games. He's the 3rd star. Joseph Murdaka gets called into duty after Troy Timpano's pulled, and he doesn't let one single goal in. So he's a 2nd star. He was a catalyst for turning around the ERIE Otters game. And the 1st star, guy that got the winning goal for the ERIE Otters, Taylor Radish, the 1st star of the game. 6-3 final for the Otters from ERIE. So now we will go to a must-win game at this point again for the London Knights. Here we go. Game 6. Game 6 at Budweiser Gardens on an Easter Sunday afternoon. What were y'all doing on an Easter Sunday afternoon? Having dinner with your family? I usually have dinner with my family. As it turns out, they wanted to do lunch on this day. My mom was in town. She loves the London Knights, and we actually could have went to Game 6, but we didn't know about the supper plans, and there were actually still seats available for this game. It was not a sellout due to Easter Sunday, and the fact that, I went to the Game 4 as well, so I couldn't really afford to go to Game 6 as well. So, but anyway, there were seats available. Could have went to Game 6. A must-win game for the London Knights in Game 6. 4th time this year they have been facing elimination in the playoffs. Let's see what happens in this game, shall we? Game 6. Game 6 was a very low-scoring game. Very low-scoring, I will tell you that much. But it didn't take long for the scoring to start. Just 47 seconds into the game, the ERIE Otters would get the first goal of the game. And you're sitting there going, here we go again, ERIE getting the lead. And this time, it was the same guy that opened the scoring in Game 5, Jordan Sambrook. Just 47 seconds in, gets the ERIE Otters the 1-0 lead and first goal of the game. So, not much happens after that. It remains 1-0 for a while. And then, in the second period, the Knights get a power play. And who other, especially when they're on the power play, who other would get a goal for the London Knights other than Jani Kaukonen? Yes, Jani Kaukonen gets his 9th goal of the playoffs. 9th goal for Jani Kaukonen. What a great player he is, turning out to be in the playoffs for the London Knights. London Knights pretty much in the last 3 games getting all their goals from 2 players, Max Jones and Jani Kaukonen. And Jani Kaukonen strikes again on the power play in the second period, makes it a 1-1 hockey game. It's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game. Yeah. I like that song, and that's the lyric right in that song. So it remains 1-1. Now, there's still no scoring for quite a while. And it remains that way right till the end of regulation. So, we saw overtime with Windsor. We're getting our first overtime action in the London ERIE series. London needing a goal in overtime to keep their season alive. The ERIE Otters, with a goal, will move on to the round 3. So let's see what happens. I got this for you. Okay, some special audio coming up for you. Let me just get this queued up for you. Just give me a second. Okay. Here we go, folks. Just bear with me as I cue this up. Okay. So it's in overtime, folks. London Knights and the Erie Otters. Knights needing a goal to stay alive. And what happens in overtime? Well, both teams get some great chances, but then this happens. This is Mike Stubbs, radio play-by-play guy.
That's in front of the goal! Scores! Scores! Mitchell Stevens scores the overtime winner! And the Knights have forced Game 7 again! Robert Thomas made the play! Holy cow, what a play!
Holy cow, what a play. Holy cow, what a goal. Yes. The Knights got badly outplayed in this game. And let me just give you the sheet here. Game 6, you can see it here. 2-1 went to the London Knights. London Knights got 26 shots on net. Erie Otters got 45. So, yeah. Erie controlled a lot of the play in this game. But the London Knights find a way to pull it out in overtime on Mr. Clutch's goal. I call him Mr. Clutch because he has been Mitchell Stevens. I think he got a tying goal in the Windsor Series one game. He got a couple of game-winning goals in the Windsor Series. And here he is again, Mr. Clutch, showing up when it counts. He gets an overtime winner on a beautiful pass from Robert Thomas. And the London Knights season stays alive with that win. They can continue to attempt to defend the throne with that win. As the London Knights, your London Knights, win Game 6, 2-1, forcing another Game 7. So we knew the West was going to be a beast this year, did we not? We saw how close this conference was all year long. And here we are again. Nope. It's not much surprise. First round went 7 games. The second round goes 7 games. And, a third round could go 7 or 6 games too. Wouldn't be a shock. So, everybody, they say they love to play for Game 7. That's what every hockey player's dream is. And for the second series in a row, the London Knights have it. Game 7 between the London Knights and Erie Otters. Now, last year they met in the West Final, and a lot of people expected it to be a very close series, including myself. We're getting the 7-game series that a lot of people thought we'd have last year. But this year, we are getting it. And, Tyler Parsons stole Game 6, no doubt about it. He stole Game 1. So, without him, probably not a Game 7 in this series. What an amazing goaltender Tyler Parsons is. What a stellar all-star goaltender this kid is. So, Game 7 at Erie Insurance Arena in Erie. Now, London Knights obviously don't have home ice advantage with this round, but, home ice doesn't always mean everything. So, let's see what happens in Game 7 in Erie between the Knights and the Otters. And a very familiar script continues to develop because, just like many games in the series, Erie gets the first goal of the game. Comes in the first period, Ivan Lodnia. Ivan Lodnia gets the first goal, the opening goal for the Erie Otters, to get them on board and get them started in this game. But then, we saw it. Remember? We saw this before. We saw this in Game 4. This quick strike offense of the Knights. We saw it again in Game 5. It's quick strike offense of the Knights. And we see it again right now after the opening goal. Because what would happen, we saw a spurt of 110, I think, in Game 5. And this time it's a spurt of 211. This time, no, it's not Jones and Kalkinen only. Although Yanni Kalkinen starts it. And Yanni Kalkinen continues to develop and be an awesome he continues to have a great playoff. He gets the Knights on the board, ties the game up with his 10th goal of the season. That's all in the first. Just the first period, folks. It's not even the second yet. And then, shortly after that, defenseman Evan Bouchard gets a go. His third goal at the playoffs to make it a 2-1 lead for your London Knights. And then, who's this? Does he still play on the Knights? Holy cow. Cliff Poo? Who? Poo? Cliff Poo? Cliff Poo gets the London Knights into a go. His second only of the playoffs. So 3 goals in the span of 2:11 in the first. Raises that early lead by Erie and makes it 3-1 in favor of your London Knights in Game 7 in Erie. This is a great start, right? You're thinking, wow, this is good. This is pretty good. And then they do what they did in Game 5, I should say. They said, Timpano, again, you're headed to the bench. Troy Timpano was definitely a little weak with these onslaughts. Joseph Mordaka comes into that again. Will it make a difference like Game 5? We'll see. We'll soon find out. Well, it seemed to make a difference pretty quickly because with just seconds ticking down on the clock in the first period, Erie would get a goal. Darren Radish gets the Erie Otters a goal. So they go into the first intermission trailing the Knights 3-2. And then that remains that way for some time. But the shots on net, again, heavily favor the Erie Otters. The Erie Otters outshoot the Knights in the first, 18-12. We go to the second. And the second, no scoring happens, but the shots continue to pile up. 21-9 in favor of the Erie Otters. So, Tyler Parsons again, the MVP of this team, standing on his head, keeping his team in this game. Now we go to the third. Knights still up 3-2, and you're going after 2 periods, you're going, I hope the Knights don't plan on sitting back and thinking they can protect that 1-goal lead still. You're not going to, I don't think it's wise to do that for 40 minutes against a high-octane team like the Otters. But they might have tried to do that a bit because the shots were very low in the third. Only got 6 shots in the third period, the Knights. Erie gets 17. So, yeah, you can see the shots, a huge advantage in favor of Erie. But this time, it did not work in the third. Anthony Sorelli gets the Erie Otters tied with the Knights early in the third with his 8th goal at the playoffs. And then with about 5 minutes left in the third, it's a tied game, Alex DeBrincat, again, Alex DeBrincat, a sensational talent for the Otters, gets the Erie Otters a go. 6th goal at the playoffs makes it 4-3 in favor of the Otters. So the London Knights could not protect that 1-goal lead, and in fact now, dire circumstances, because the time is starting to tick down, and the London Knights need a goal to keep their season alive still. Facing elimination for the 5th time, remember folks, and they need a goal to keep their season alive. And then, obviously, when your season's on the line, the game's on the line in the playoffs, you pull your goalie, and the London Knights did that with about, I think it was about 1 minute 40 seconds left. They decided to pull Tyler Parsons. And then while they're trying to, while they have control of the puck, Joe Levy gets checked from behind by Warren Fogle of the Otters. Warren Fogle gets a 2-minute penalty going to the box. The fans in Erie not liking it, but it is a penalty. Cross-checking. Checking from behind, whatever you want to call it. So the Knights go to the power play and continue to have Parsons out of the net. So it's like they have a 2-man advantage here, folks. And let's go to this, shall we? again, we're going to this call courtesy of Mike Stubbs of AM 980, Knights radio play-by-play guy. And let's take a look at
Welcome to ERIE Insurance Arena.
I'm gonna cue it up here, folks. I'm gonna cue it up to about the time of what you want to hear here. So,
Slotty, Levy, Yo Levy, now to Crokin and low shot, deflected in front, scores! Scores! The London Knights have tied the game at 4. A power play goal. May have been Mitchell Stevens, may have been Robert Thomas, but we are tied with 59.6 seconds left. Ticked off it.
Thank you, Mike Stubbs. Boy, does that guy get excited. Wow. So the Knights, with 1 minute left in the third period, down 4-3, they tie the game up. They tie it up. Despite the fact they're being heavily outshot in this game, they tie it up. And who got the goal? Mitchell Stevens. Wow. Thank you for coming to London, Mitchell Stevens. We love you here in London. Buddy, you're Mr. Clutch. He got the game time goal. He popped it in, standing at the side of net on the power play. Now, it did go to video review, and they reviewed it for quite some time. And you're sitting there going, they better count this goal, because you keep looking at it and you're thinking, what are they looking at? Because the puck went in the net. It wasn't like it was not over the line. It went in the net. I think they were looking at goaltender interference possibly, and they were looking at the fact that did a stick put it in the net. And as the call on the ice thankfully stood, because there was no conclusive evidence to overturn it. So Mitchell Stevens ties the game up at 4. In this game, just like Game 6, going to overtime. Again. Wow. What more can you say about the Knights? I mean, they're trying their darndest to defend the throne. They really are. And they never give up. Never give up. They didn't give up in the Winter Series. They're not giving up in this series. And they get it to overtime on a goal with 1 minute left in the third period. That's something right there, folks. So it goes to overtime. Goes to overtime. Let's see what happens in overtime. Again, we're going to Mike Stubbs. And we're going to see how this game ends.
Here is DeBrincat, and out he comes. DeBrincat. Now to Darren Radish, joining the Russian across the London line. Through the Fogle, he scores! It has been a phenomenal year. It didn't end.
Did you catch that? Yeah. It ends. Warren Fogle, about halfway through the first overtime, gets the ERIE Otters a goal. On a really nice goal. It was a nice goal. Nice pass. Broke right in on net. And the ERIE Otters get the win in Game 7. Fortunate and unfortunate ending for the Knights. But they fought hard. And they tried hard. And they were right there to the end. You know, one shot their way. And they did have a couple of good chances in overtime, the Knights. One shot their way, it would have been a different story. But Warren Fogle, how about that, folks? He gets the penalty late in the third to get the Knights a chance to tie it, which they did. And then he redeems himself with that series-winning goal in Game 7. So, the ERIE Otters eliminate our defending Memorial Cup champions in 7 games. Hard-fought series. And to be honest, it went longer than I thought it would. I really didn't think that London would be able to push us to 7 games with such a high octane team like the Otters, but they did. Just didn't get the break in the end to win it. But let me give you the summary of the third period now. 17-6 shots in the third for ERIE. Overtime, 7-2 in favor of ERIE. For the game, ERIE outshot the Knights 63-29. 63-29. And yet the Knights were right in this to the end. So, again, huge reason why Tyler Parsons. And Tyler Parsons is one heck of a goaltender, and you're going to be hearing his name in the future. Mark my words on that. You're going to be hearing him up with the Calgary Flames someday, I'm sure, and I think he's going to be a pretty good goaltender. I really do. Let's go to the 3 stars of the game. Darren Radish, the 3rd star from the Erie Otters. He had a goal in this game as well as an assist. DeBrincat, 2nd star. He had 2 points as well. And the 1st star, scoring the winning goal, 10:40 into overtime, Warren Foegele of the Erie Otters. You know what? They need 4 stars because Tyler Parsons is definitely a star in this game. He is. Without him, this game doesn't go to overtime. But we will say he is star number 3.1, Tyler Parsons. Awesome game by this goaltender. Awesome series and playoffs by this goaltender. Now, you sit back and you think, I thought the London Knights made the best moves at the trade deadline. I really did. I thought, wow, nobody's going to touch this team. They have made some great trades. But, as it really turns out, looks like Erie made the best pickups. Not London, because all 3 other pickups are prime central in this game. Joseph Murdaka was picked up at the trade deadline by the Erie Otters. He comes in, just like he did in Game 5, and was the reason why the Erie Otters turned this game around after trailing. 2nd star, and then Anthony Cirelli, pickup from the Oshawa Generals. He got the tying goal in this game. He has 8 goals in the playoffs. Anthony Cirelli, very good pickup for the Erie Otters. Then Warren Foegele, obviously, he was a trade deadline pickup, and he scores the series-winning goal in overtime. And he's had some good big goals in the playoffs already, too. 4 goals for him now. So Erie definitely did make the best deals. London Knights obviously got Mitchell Stevens, who was absolutely sensational. He was bang on for his money. You can't ask for more than what he did from him. And then they acquired Dante Salaturo, who kind of just slipped into the Bermuda Triangle. Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found in these playoffs. Did not score one single playoff goal for the Knights. And then Mitchell Van de Soppel kind of disappeared somewhere in there too. I think he only got a goal or 2, but he's a defenseman, but he is a very offensive defenseman. And again, kind of didn't really make that much of a difference. But anyway, that is the end of the Knights season. Now, what I want to do, briefly, if I may, I want to discuss. I want to bring some of these things up here, and I'm going to do that here. Let me just bear with me for a second as I find it. And I'm bringing something up. So what I want to do is leave you with these kind of a few little comments. John Traverse, he writes on the London Knights Facebook page. John Traverse, well done to all the London Knights staff, players, and coaches on a great regular season and playoff run this year. Tyler Parsons, you were amazing despite all the shots against you. You guys still had a chance to win a second Game 7 in a row in one playoff year. Not many teams can say that. I know this loss hurts now, but you made the true Knight fans such as myself in the city of London very proud. We will be back. Hashtag Go Knights Go. Hashtag Reload. Hashtag Next Season. So that's John Traverse on the fan page. Now let's take a look at some of the other comments that are on the London Knights Facebook page with what they wrote after Game 7. Dan Murphy says, welcome to the sea of Red Parsons. Thanks, boys, for an unbelievable right this season. Sharon Gillespie wrote, great season, Knights, great game and tough loss. Looking forward to next season already. Bye to those moving on. See you in the fall. Be proud. Wow, Parsons amazing. And here we're going to go down more. Jared Truis, thank you, Parsons. As for the rest of the team, these last two games, period. Karen Shifton writes, really proud of this team. Battled hard. Proved once again that London Knights are always a threat. Hold your heads high. First class team all the way. Trevor Jones writes, awesome season to take the #1 team in the OHL to a 7th game and to overtime. Outstanding. Thank you for a great season. Phil Deb Wilson writes, what an effort, boys. Be proud. Keep moving on here. See if there's any more good comments here. What a great season, Shara Shrubsaw wrote. We hope that the team can arrange when final meet and greet is. It's hard to lose a Game 7 and end the season, but you gave it your all. Amanda Watley writes, what an amazing season and series. You guys definitely fought until the very end and have absolutely nothing to hang your heads about. Thank you guys for a great season and best of luck to our overagers that are departing. And she brings up a good point, that last one about the overagers. And who are the overagers that are leaving this team? Well, a guy that's played nothing but all his time with the London Knights, 5 years of them, Owen McDonald, is an overager. He will not be back. So best of luck to you, Owen McDonald. And then the trade pickup of Dante Salaturo, he was an overager. He will not be back. And he didn't contribute much in the playoffs anyway, but he won't be back. And the other overager, the captain of your London Knights, J.J. Pickenidge, played his last game as he is an overager too. So he will not be back as well. And there's still some others that, there's probably some others that won't be back as well. But those are the main ones at this point. Now I want to bring you one last comment here. And this is actually courtesy of a co-worker of mine. And I'm just waiting for my computer. There we go. Co-worker who's a Knights fan. What a great game that was. I am proud of them. They had a great season. Now I'm going to cheer for the attack. And yes, that is who ERIE will be playing next round. The Owen Sound Attack. Starting in ERIE. ERIE has home ice advantage. And in the East, it will be Peterborough, Mississauga, which actually I believe, if you go back to my predictions, I predicted all that to happen. I predicted those final 4 teams bang on. So ERIE and Owen Sound, Mississauga and Peterborough. And we'll see who wins those. I did predict Owen Sound and Mississauga, so we'll see what happens with those series. Now, I can also tell you out west, the Regina Pats did survive a scare. They were ranked #1 in the country for a lot of the season. They survived a second-round scare and got through to the 3rd round, so they're still alive out west. The Roy-Noranda Huskies, who the Knights beat in last year's Cup final, they got beat out in overtime too in the 2nd round, so they are done in the Quebec League. St. John Sea Dogs were ranked #1. They're still alive out in the Quebec League. So that is a little bit of news for you there. Now, what I'm going to do, I have one last Knights This Week show I'm going to do for you next week. On that show, what I want to do is discuss my viewpoint on the season. And I got this cool, about 10-minute video that's really well done on the Knights season recap, season in review. So I'm going to play you that. And maybe a couple other special videos of big-time, awesome things that I stand out in the Knights' 40-plus year history that I can recall. So another video is coming at you next week where we're going to do those things. But for now, the season is over. But do come back next week as I give you my summary of it, give you that video, good stuff, folks. You don't want to miss it. So, this has been Knights This Week. So, from me to all you Knight fans out there, great season this year. Come back next week for the last show. And until then, we'll see you then. This is your host and superfan signing off.